Hi, I'm Sarah with Winding Road Yoga. I'm a retired cardiologist and a yoga teacher, and I'm excited to share Winding Road Yoga with you. This class is an introduction to a yoga class. So we're going to go slow, and it's going to be a fairly abbreviated class, but I want to work you through what you'll find in a typical yoga class for people that are fairly new to the practice. Now, of course, go at your own pace. If anything feels painful or stressful, or just doesn't feel right, then back off, take any variation that works for you, and I'll try to give you some options. And then as we go, you may find that your muscles kind of begin to relax and release. Of course, if you have any medical conditions, check in with your doctor or your physical therapist. Make sure that what you're doing today is going to be safe for you. So, like I said, we're just going to walk through what a typical yoga class would entail. And so generally when you come into a yoga space, it's going to start out as a period of quietness. So usually people will be coming in, they may be lying on their backs, they may be just sitting quietly, they may be doing some stretches, but usually as we come into our yoga class, we're just trying to decompress from our day and just allow our mind and our body to release into this space. So typically, I will start in a comfortable seated pose, but we may start on our backs. Today, we'll start in a comfortable seated pose. So what you'll want to do is just, again, make sure it's comfortable. So sitting on your seat bones, and usually we'll want the feet underneath our shin bones. Now, sometimes this may be a little much, and if that's the case, you can always take a bolster meditation cushion and maybe sit on that to give yourself a little lift. Or if that's too much, maybe a block would be available. You could use a book, just something to allow your hips to open up here. So that's what we're trying to feel, is that opening of the hips. We want to feel that our hip bones are in line with our shoulders and that there's a plumb line going through the top of our head all the way down through the center of our body. So we don't want to be slouching. When we're in our daily life, we're often in that kind of slouchy position, shoulders kind of hunching. It's easy for that to happen. If you're in the medical field, you might be wearing a jacket that kind of hunches you over with all the weight in it. And if you're just, caring for somebody or at your computer, it's just so easy to fall into that really dysfunctional way of sitting, and that kind of pulls in our chest, and that can lead to all kinds of problems with our shoulders and our neck and our spine. So this is the time to try to re-equilibrate, rebalance. And usually from here, we'll take a few breaths, maybe in through the nose and out through the nose. And this is going to be a time of centering. It's amazing how much of a difference that ability to stop and rest and just listen to your breath can make. So from here, we'll usually go into some type of a spinal twist and stretch. So we want to work our spine, just loosening ourselves up. And so often what we'll do is we'll bring our hands over our heads, palms to touch, and then down into our heart center. At this point, we might make an affirmation or an intention for the practice. We might even do that during the breathing part of the practice. So we'll set an intention or an idea that we want to hold with us throughout the practice. That may work for you. Maybe you don't want to do an intention. It's totally up to you. It's completely private. So from here, we'll do maybe some stretches, putting your back into a back bending type position, and then maybe folding forwards like this. We call this the cow position, and this is the cat position. So we might want to do that for a few cycles, maybe even rolling the shoulders. And one thing about yoga is that you can take whatever movements feel right for you. So if rolling your shoulders feels good, then by all means do that. So from here, we're going to do the spinal stretch and a stretch through our side body. So what we'll do is let's put our right hand down and lift over with our left arm. Now, there's ways to do this that can really create more space in the body. And what you want to do is try to spin this tricep towards your face. So you'll feel that kind of opening up through your back body and opening up through the side body. You don't need to go all the way down. Maybe that works for you. Maybe just making this effort is all that you need. So we'll stay here for a few breaths. Maybe looking under the arm, maybe even closing down your eyes. And then let's try the other side. So setting down the left arm, lifting up through the right. Again, feeling that tricep spinning in. So you don't want it behind you. You want it almost a little bit in front. And just leaning over, looking under the arm. If that works for you, if that's cranking your neck, you can look down. Just find what works for you. We'll come back. And then again, maybe a few shrugs at the shoulders, back and forth. And just feeling yourself letting go and opening up to your practice. Now, we already did our cat-cow, but we might want to just take that a little further. So we're going to come into a tabletop pose. So with tabletop pose, you're going to have your shoulders in line with your wrists. You're going to have your index fingers pointing forward. Feel the hips and the knees in line. Maybe pull in your core just a little bit. And then we'll take our cat pose. So we're pulling up through the low belly, arching through the spine, and just dropping our head down. So this is not a lot of effort. Feel yourself balanced on both the front and the back. And then for cow, we glide our shoulders down and then feel that movement around. So it's not just the shoulders going down that can sort of get into a uncomfortable position, but you want to feel the shoulder blades wrapping around. So we'll take the cow pose. You don't want to crank your head up, but look forward and keeping the weight in your hands and the palms, feeling this section here and the knuckles all working together. So the section between the index finger and the thumb and the knuckles, feeling your hands grounded, maybe feeling the forearms drawing in together, and then the triceps are spinning backwards. So there's a lot going on in this pose. So we take a few more rounds. Keep on going at your own pace and just allow your spine to open up. From cat-cow, we may take a child's pose. And for child's pose, you can have your arms in front or by your side. In front is going to put a little bit more stretch on the shoulders. By your side, it's going to be a little bit more relaxing with your palms facing up, forehead to the floor. If that's too much, again, take your block, put that under your head. That can feel really nice. And then after you've taken a comfortable child's pose, hands go in front. Put your toes behind you onto the balls of your feet and lift up through the hips. Now, this is your down dog. And down dog doesn't have to be straight leg. It can be, but if your heels don't comfortably touch the ground, feel free to bend the knees, but you want to feel this lengthening through your spine. So just a nice lengthening and traction through your spine and your sitting bones lifted. So that's really what we're looking for in this pose, is that lifting of the sitting bones, the lengthening through the spine, trying to get your ears by your biceps, and you feel that same pulling in through the forearms and the biceps spinning forward, the triceps spinning back. And you can pedal out your feet here. So this is a perfect time to just get the wiggles out, pedaling out through your feet. It feels nice on the back of your calves. And then we'll walk up to the front of your mat. Now you can take as many steps as you like. You can step forward in a fairly brisk forward movement, but it's nice to just slowly walk up to your hands. So when you come to your hands, again, you don't necessarily need to be able to touch your toes. That's not the point, although over time your muscles will lengthen so that begins to happen. But you want to feel your spine hanging. You want to feel that your torso and your thighs connect or get close to connecting. So whether that means you're straightening your legs or they're nicely bent, it really doesn't matter. So feeling this stretch along the back and the lengthening through the spine. Maybe taking some ragdoll, so grabbing opposite elbows and just swaying back and forth. So one thing to remember in yoga is it's never just about one body part working. It's a balance. So as you do one thing, you're doing another thing or two or three or four as well. So you're getting that balance and you're getting that lengthening and the stretching and the strength all at the same time. So from here, now that you've had your time in forward fold, usually we'll come up with our arms, lifting the arms overhead, and then bringing your hands to heart center. We might remind ourselves of our affirmation here. This is called Tadasana pose or mountain pose. And this is obviously simple pose, but there's a lot going on. So in this pose, you want to feel all four corners of your feet. So your big toe mound, your little toe mound, feeling that little triangle back to your heels. So both sides of your heels make the peak of the triangle, and then just drawing up through the thighs. You don't want to lock out your knees, but feeling these quadricep muscles engaging. So that's different than locking through the knees, but feeling the quadriceps engaging, feeling that core drawing in, feeling the side body lengthening. So you're feeling all of this going on in this single pose. Shoulders drawn down and around. So again, think about that wrapping feeling around. Hands to heart center. And then we lift our arms up and overhead. Forward fold. And from here, we may take a sun salutation A. So yoga has a lot of fairly traditional poses and sequences that are done as a common part of the practice. It's not always included, but this is something you're likely to encounter. So sun salutation A, you want to lift and lengthen. So halfway lift, you may have your hands on your thighs, you may have them on your shins, you may have them on the ground, but you want to straighten out through your back, feeling that lengthening and forward fold. From here, we're going to step back into our high plank. Now, that's going to be a lot if this is not something that you're used to. So we can start and anytime come to your knees. And then from your knees, let's come down into our cobra. So from here, this class, we're going to go all the way down. And then we're going to lift up into our cobra. Now, cobra, there's a lot going on with cobra as well. So you're feeling these shoulders gliding down, feeling your toes, all 10 toes, pressing into the ground. And you don't want your head cranking, but just looking ahead. So feeling this pose, and we'll take a few breaths. Yoga is all about the breath. From here, since this is our first one, we may swing back into a brief child's pose, maybe up into our tabletop, curling the toes under, stepping back into your down dog, and coming forward. So usually we'll do the sun salutation A 3 times. So root to rise, thinking of your Tadasana, hands to heart center, and forward fold. Halfway lift. Again, shins, thighs, or ground, forward fold. And then you can step back into your plank or plank on your knees. Now, we may want to do a little bit more advanced work here. So we may want to do up dog. So again, let's do that on our knees. We go down part of the way, chaturanga, and then up into our upward facing dog. For the full expression, we're going to be off of our thighs, but you can certainly do this one on your thighs. Be careful you're not dumping into your back. And if this is too much, you can always take cobra. Again, the important thing is that we're keeping that alignment. So we're keeping our shoulders gliding down. You don't want to dump into your shoulders. It's easy to do, and it's not good for your shoulders. So we'll come back up, curling your toes under. And then you may hear the teacher say step, hop, or float. So some people will hop up to their hands, but you don't have to do that. You can step up. And then again, halfway lift, forward fold, and coming up and coming back down again. So we'll go one more time, halfway lift, step, hop, or float to your plank pose. So we'll step back here. And then we're going to chaturanga, which is that half push-up, which you can do on your knees. You just don't want to dump into your shoulders. I can't stress that enough, because you can really kind of counteract the benefit of the pose if you dump into these shoulders. So, and then your up dog or your cobra, again, feeling that beautiful traction. And then curling over your toes into your down dog. Take a few breaths in down dog. Let's get your bearings here. Maybe remind yourself of your intention. And then we come back up to the front of our mat. Step up or float. Inhale, halfway lift. and exhale, forward fold. Inhale and exhale, hands to heart center. Now from here, we'll often take a variety of what we call sun salutation B. So that's another very traditional part of yoga. And sun salutation B is a series that has a lot of modifications and a lot of room for creativity. So you may kind of get a sense of what's going on in your class as the teacher progresses through the practice. So you may start with one set of sun salutation B, and then you may add on. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but we'll start in mountain pose, arms up and forward fold. From here, we'll take our chair pose. So chair pose can be really challenging to do it correctly. But what we want to do is have more weight in our feet. We want to have our biceps spinning out by the ears. Our little fingers are coming in. So let's see if you can see me. Chair pose. You want to feel like you're in a chair. This can be, like I say, really challenging. You want to feel this pelvis drawing down, not tucked, but down. So you don't want your booty sticking out, just kind of like you might do if you were sitting in a chair. And then forward fold. From here, you might do a twist, you might not. A little bit more advanced classes, you may do a twisting pose from side to side, but we'll start with the chair pose, and then we step back into our high lunge, and then coming up into our warrior one pose. So warrior one, this is our first warrior pose. So with the warrior pose, you've got the right foot spinning in, you've got the left knee going forward, the left foot going forward, your hips are towards the front of the mat. Your biceps again are by your ears. Your hands are spinning in, arms are spinning in. You're lengthening on both sides. This is a much more difficult pose than it looks. So give yourself some grace. You want to try to feel some deepening in the posture, but only as far as you can go. And it'll take time, but it doesn't matter. You're getting the benefit of the pose. Hands back down, stepping back, maybe doing a chaturanga, upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. From here, you'll step the left foot forward into a lunge, and then we'll spin out through the right foot, coming up into our warrior one, holding that pose. Hands back down, stepping back, chaturanga perhaps, up dog, and downward facing dog. Then you'll step, hop, or float back to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale. Now here we'll do a little bit of an add-on. So we're going to step back through our right foot. We're in that lunge pose. Maybe we'll drop our leg down. So we're in a runner's lunge, bringing our arms overhead. And often here we'll get a twist. So hooking the right arm over the outside of the left leg, hands to heart center. Take a few breaths here. Feeling that stretch and lengthening through the front of that quadricep. Hands back to the mat. And then we step through with our right foot, knees to the ground, arms up overhead. And then maybe taking that twist to the right, hands to heart center. Again, feeling that lengthening through the front of the thigh. Hands down. Stepping back into our warrior one. Hands down, step back, and then our chaturanga, up dog, and downward facing dog. So there'll be a lot of different ways that you'll do sun salutation B. So we'll go through a couple other variations. Step, hop that foot, the front of the mat, halfway lift, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach, rise, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, stepping back with the right foot, finding that high lunge. From here up and back into your lunge. Maybe from here, taking a warrior one. And then from here, we might do a warrior two. So warrior two is going to be a little different because you've got your thighs open, your right thigh is open here, and you're facing your hips towards the side of the mat. So that's a different opening than when you're facing front in warrior one. So warrior two, bending through the left knee, feeling your torso over the center of your body, looking out through that left middle finger is what we call your dristi, which is a point of focus, that's soft focus, but you're looking forward. You're not looking down, you're not looking up. You've got that forward soft gaze. From here, we may do a side body stretch with exalted warrior. So one way to get into this pose is sort of bringing that arm forward and then around, and that will really help to open up the side body. Inhale, exhale, and just really feel this stretch. You want to try to keep the legs in the same position as they were for warrior two. Inhale and exhale. Arms cartwheel down, stepping back, maybe taking a vinyasa, which is that high to low push-up, downward facing dog. And now we're going to go to the other side. So we're stepping our right foot forward, and then we're dropping down to our knees, arms overhead, taking a few breaths. And then let's do that twist. Hands to heart center, feeling that deep twist through the center of the body, but feeling that alignment from head all the way through. You want to try to get the hands to heart center, but that's hard to do. So if it doesn't get there at first, just give it a try. That's the important thing, is that you're teaching your body how to stretch and how to deepen in these poses, even if it doesn't happen right away. You may find if you use that bottom hand as a fist, you get a little bit more connection and leverage. So that might work for you. And then the hands back down. And from here, we're going to step up into our warrior one. So remember, you've got this right knee going forward. You're bending through that right knee. You're pressing into the knife edge of your outside foot, arms up, feeling that engagement through the side body, opening up into our warrior two. And each side is going to feel a little different because you're working different muscles on each side. So your body is never going to be the same on each side. So it may feel completely different. But you're going to feel that opening up through the hips, stretching out through the arms, looking over that middle finger. Then we're going to do our side bend into our exalted warrior. Hands cartwheeling down to the ground, stepping back. Let's do our chaturanga, which also can be our chaturanga on our knees, up dog. And then from here, we might want to just take another child's pose. This is a great time to take a child's pose. And when you're doing yoga, you can always take a child's pose. So there's never a time that you're not allowed to do something. You can always take a child's pose. In our child's pose. And then from here, we'll come back up. And then the next part of the class may involve some balancing poses. So we'll take a couple balancing poses and then just kind of walk through what tree pose, for example, might mean. So let's come into our tabletop pose, stepping back into our down dog, and then let's just step back up to the front of our mat. So tree pose is a common pose that you're going to encounter in your class. And it's not a complicated pose, but it can be difficult because it's really going to challenge your balance. So be kind to yourself and understand that there are modifications, just as there are with everything. So the typical tree pose, we're going to want to get our left foot to our left thigh and our hands to heart center. But that doesn't happen overnight, and we want to feel this right hip drawing in. We don't want our hip poking out. So let's start by just making a kickstand. And we've got our ankle and our heel connected. So that's an excellent tree pose. You're going to feel that balance. You can get that alignment, feel that alignment through the side body. And you can hold that pose if you want to go a little higher, maybe the calf, or maybe you go all the way up to your thigh, but trying to keep the body straight. This is not easy. Arms overhead might be a variation, but you're never obligated to do that. There may be another balancing pose with your knee facing forward, but you can again take this on your toe. Just take it at your own pace. From here, we'll go to the other side. We might do a little hip wiggle just to get out of the hip. Again, taking that kickstand to your calf or up to your thigh. And each side is going to feel different. Try to feel the side lengthening. So again, don't drop into your hip like that. So you're not going to get the full benefit of the pose. You want to feel that your hip is in line. So sometimes even bringing that knee forward will allow you to bring the hip back a little bit more. Hands to heart center, or maybe overhead. Maybe the one-legged pose, one-legged Tadasana. Again, take things at a level that serves you, and just know as you keep working through the yoga, you're going to feel tremendous benefit, even if you don't get to that peak pose. That's not the goal. The goal is to allow your body to find more strength, more flexibility, and to allow your mind to relax and let go. So letting go of your expectations. From here, we may go back down, and perhaps it's time to step back and do a bridge pose. So we may want to do a back bend in our yoga class. So there's all varieties of back bends, and I'm just going to walk you through the bridge pose. So we're going to lie on our backs, putting our feet in front of us, rolling down. So you're on your back. You've got your heels in line with your middle fingers. So you want to be able to reach those middle fingers and feel the back of your heels. For bridge pose, your block is your friend. So for typical bridge pose, we're going to articulate our spine up, 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 all the way up, and hold this, feeling the knees not out but drawing in. So this is challenging. And so you can put this block right under your sacrum, and that's going to give you that opening through the back without having that pressure. And this is a wonderful way to do bridge pose, and you don't need to feel like you're doing something wrong or you're not fully participating. This is a perfect way to do bridge. And it's called a supported bridge pose. When we come out of bridge, let's just stay in bridge for a few more breaths, just so we can really get the benefit of it. But we really want to feel that spine lengthening and feeling that we are allowing these tight muscles to release. And then when we come out of bridge, we're just going to articulate the spine one vertebra by one vertebra by one vertebra by one vertebra, and then bringing your knees into your chest. This may be the perfect time to do a happy baby pose. So a happy baby, you got your feet up in the air like a baby, and you're grabbing the outsides of your feet. So you're pulling down. Now this may be a little too intense. And if that's the case, maybe a strap over your foot would be good. Maybe just do one leg at a time and then the other. But this is a wonderful pose to just let your hips release and just allow yourself to rock back and forth. You want to keep your head on the ground. So doing this isn't going to really help you much. And it's probably going to straighten your neck. So letting your spine lengthen all the way down through the mat. Sometimes people like to lengthen one leg and then the other, just straightening out through the legs. And then we'll bring our knees back into our chest. And then from here, we might do a few rock and rolls, just letting the spine get a little massage, and then coming back up to our seated pose. And then it's time for our stretch. So we may do pigeon, but let's do a figure 4 stretch today. So figure 4 stretch, you're going to lift your right leg up over your left. You can do this while you're on your back, and just let that ankle be outside of the left thigh. You've got a little keyhole here. So it's also called thread the needle. And you pull on your thigh, not to the point that you're cranking it, but to the point that you just feel that nice stretch here. If this is too much, you can get a strap and give yourself as much tension as feels comfortable. Keeping the head on the ground again. You may flex the foot to keep the leg engaged. And usually we're going to hold this for maybe half a minute, maybe even more. If you're in a pigeon pose, we may hold that for a few minutes. So let's just allow this pose to do its work. Maybe remind yourself of your intention here. And then from here, nothing fancy. Just put that right foot down, cross the left foot over, flexing the foot, threading the needle, and pulling on the right thigh. So again, maybe getting a strap if that's not comfortable. But keeping the head on the ground. Even keep keeping one foot on the ground and allowing that knee to slide out is going to work and give you that stretch. Bring your knees into your chest. And then from here, we'll straighten out through the legs. So let's take a twist. So usually we'll do one foot of twist or another, looking out across the right arm, letting the right knee glide over to the left side. And the important thing here is keeping those shoulders on the mat. So even if the knee doesn't go very far, it doesn't matter. Keeping those shoulders on the mat is going to allow you to get the benefit of this twist. You're going to feel it across the hip. Bringing the knees back to your center. Straightening out through the right leg. Tucking the left foot under the thigh. And then just swing over to the right side. Both sides are going to feel very different. Keeping those shoulders on the mat. You might even kind of walk the right shoulder out a little bit. Shutting down your eyes. And from here, bringing your knees back into center. Giving yourself a hug. Straightening out through your legs. And taking your Shavasana. So Shavasana is your time to just let everything go. There's no thinking, there's no effort. You just let everything go. And we should take our Shavasana for at least 3 minutes. Sometimes even longer than that if you have the time. But just allow yourself this time because it's so important. This is part of your practice. This isn't just rest time. This is allowing your body to get what you just did and to reward yourself for your efforts. No thinking, no doing. You might let your fingers and feet start to make a few little wiggles, maybe making a few little circles with your hands and your ankles. If you're ready, bringing your arms over your head as you're lying down and then taking that full body stretch. From here, roll over to your right side or your left side, whichever serves you best, and come back up into seated posture. Bringing your hands to your knees, closing your eyes, maybe bringing your hands to heart center, and thanking yourself for giving yourself this gift of time and effort. and ease. Namaste, sweet yogis. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed this introduction to your yoga class, and I look forward to seeing you next time.